Hello and welcome to CSP Financial Group. I'm Sophal Pettit, your host for this podcast. Here we dive into the world of financial literacy and explore the invaluable work of our advisors, what they do. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Welcome to today's episode. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Nick, an advisor at CSP Financial Group. In today's conversation, we will dive into, the area where Nick specialized in and exploring how he helps his clients achieve financial success. So before I begin our conversation with those questions, I would like for you to just share a little bit about yourself, Nick. So Nick, welcome to the podcast and thank you for being here with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sophal, for having me. I'm excited to be on. And, before sharing a little bit about myself, I do want to say how honored and grateful I am to be a part of CSP. I really feel like I found my home with you and Charles's firm. And what attracted me really was how much you and we care about people. I really think that, ever since I was little, the conversation about money or lack of money was always present for us. And I just knew at a very young age that if you had money, your life would be easier. That's what I believed. And, to some extent, that is true, right? Money affords options and possibilities and adventure and all of that. And ever since I was little, it was a conversation that I had with my dad in particular. So a little bit about me, like I remember my first financial memory of being 6 years old on every Sunday when my dad was not working, and he would quiz me on the ticker symbols of the S&P 500. So from a very young age, he'd say Walmart and I'd say WMT. He'd say Disney, I'd say DIS. So growing up, like I was very fortunate to have and still have the dad that I do. And so I've always been passionate about finance. I graduated with a finance degree at Santa Clara University. And I just knew that, the opportunity to use my skills in finance and investing, as well as coaching people around their behavior and really looking at like what's important to them, what is it that they want to accomplish, and how can money help them achieve that is something that's just super fulfilling for me.
Thank you. Yeah, I hear that, and I think I can see that, from the passions that you deal with clients. So, but the audience listening to might not know you in that way. So I'm gonna dive into our question today.
Yeah.
And so Nick, have you been in the financial industry for a while, right? And so what are the particular moments and experience that make you realize this was the right career for you?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, like I said, I graduated with a finance degree in 2014. And right after college, I started working at a portfolio management company in San Francisco. And within finance, there's a lot of different modalities, a lot of different specialties. And what I thought I was going to be doing was actually working with clients one on one. And instead, I found myself, working 70 to 80 hours a week behind a computer, just in Excel spreadsheets. And so although I knew finance was what I wanted to do, I knew that the portfolio management analyst role was not something I wanted to do. I really wanted to work with clients. And so I'm originally from LA. I moved back to LA, and I ended up working with a financial planning firm that really did interact with clients. So there, it really was like my first glimpse into what an advisor client relationship looked like. And one of the things, and I'll get to it at a later point in time in the story, but what I didn't realize at the time was that the financial planner I was working with was a very traditional financial advisor. He would try to pick the right stocks that was going to beat the market. He would try to predict when to get in the market and when to get out of the market. And he would really use charts, the candlestick charts and all of that to create portfolios for people. And I remember one time, when you ask about the moments, there was actually two. There was a meeting that I was in, and we had done a financial plan for this widow, and only was she going to be okay financially. I think she was going to die with like $4 million. Not only did she have enough money for herself, but for her kids and her grandkids. But the numbers didn't really mean anything to her. She was still, disempowered and not totally satisfied and not having peace of mind, even though the numbers said that she was going to be fine. And it was in that moment when I realized, it's one thing to have a beautiful, perfect financial plan where someone's not running out of money. But if we don't address the behavior and people's relationship to money, then it really doesn't mean anything. And so, I went on a journey to really discover like how I can create that perfect role for myself, where there is that financial component, but there is that behavioral component as well. So that was one moment I realized that no amount of money can make you happy. Right. And I think, we all know the story that you can have very little money and, some of those people are the happiest in the world.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And the second, really like aha moment for me was when, this advisor I was working with, and I were preparing for a client meeting. And what he brought me into the office prior to the meeting, he had asked me, "Hey, Nick, how am I supposed to have a conversation with this client when the market was supposed to go up and it actually went down?" And I remember thinking to myself, like, this guy's a PhD. He's got 2 patents under his name, super, super smart guy, lots of designations. Yet he still couldn't predict where the market was going to go. And, I was young in my career, and I remember thinking, there's no way that I'm going to play with or gamble with someone's retirement and future. They've worked 30, 40, 50 years of their life. I just didn't feel confident that there was an actual way to, create a portfolio that would have expected returns. And so I remember going home that day and being really, really disenchanted with the industry. There's people that are trusting their hard-earned money with people who don't and can't really predict the market. So what I actually did, Sophal, was I left that company and I gave up my licenses to become a financial coach. And so at that point, I wasn't managing money, but what I was really focusing on was people's relationship to money. And it allowed me, because of no FINRA and SEC rules, I was able to work with clients all over the world. So, clients in Asia and Australia and South America, all over the US. And I had the opportunity to actually coach Olympic athletes, celebrities, entrepreneurs, recent college grads. And I actually did a college tour where I would speak on college campuses to the graduating seniors and recent college grads. And for me, that was very fulfilling. But again, behavior component is only one side to the story, right? You really do need the investing and financial planning as well as the behavior. So long story short, again, I felt like I was taking a step in the right direction in serving clients. But again, there was a missing piece. So, to tie this all up in a bow, what has me be here with CSP is that I really do get to do both. And, it's so fulfilling knowing that we are out to help people create a life that they love and create a financial plan and align the investing with what it is that's important to them. So again, a few of the aha moments were really out of like fear and frustration and, just a gut feeling that there was something missing and something wrong. And so it took, it took about a decade to get to where I am today. And, I wouldn't trade the journey for the world. So
you still look very young, so it's not a decade. So that's lead us to, might be a little bit redundant, but when you shared earlier, is another question here. Have you ever had a personal experience with money, and good or bad, that shape how you approach advising your clients?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had many. I don't know where to begin. I think, I shared about, being 6 years old and my dad quizzing me on the ticker symbols. There's another story that my mom loves to make sure that she reminds me, which is when I was younger, I remember it was Thanksgiving time and all of my relatives are there. And my mom had asked me in front of everyone, do you know where money comes from? And I remember pointing to the back pocket of my dad's jeans and pointing to his wallet. Like that's where money comes from. And everybody was laughing. And again, as a kid, I couldn't comprehend why that was funny. I just made it mean that there's something that I do not understand about finances and money. And, my dad always told me that when I got older, he would teach me how to invest. But that never happened. And it wasn't, to his fault. I got busy with sports and academics and all of that stuff. And so my dad and I never really got to have that conversation. And it wasn't until I took finance courses in college when I really started to understand more of how investing actually worked. So to answer your question, Paul, I think how that memory or how that experience has impacted the way that I work with clients is it does not matter where you come from, what background or knowledge or lack of knowledge you have about investing. What we're really focused on and what I'm really focused on is empowering and educating my clients. Because, I've got clients in the Midwest who are PE teachers. I've got people who, work hotel concierge with no financial background at all the way to the other side as well, right? MBAs and masters in finance and all of that. But again, when I started my coaching business prior to CSP, what I really was interested in was being the type of coach that I wish I had. Someone who is patient, someone who would explain things to me and actually take the time. Because again, I mean, I learned a lot of memories from my dad. Like I remember he was teaching me fractions one time, and I think he was like, what's 25% of 3/8? And I just remember being a kid like that. I don't understand, but he would just get upset with me. And I remember feeling like so stupid, feeling like I should have known the answer, and just feeling like a lot of shame around not understanding. And so when I work with clients who, again, this might be the very first time they're having this type of conversation, it's really fulfilling for me to take someone who has no knowledge to all of a sudden being able to explain it to their family, right? Or to their partner, or, repeat it back to me. So, that's what I would say. It was a memory that impacts how I interact with clients. Like I really do enjoy taking my time and being patient.
Yeah, it sounds like you using your, your fear, your shame and guilt to help your client elevating on their space because you can relate to how they feel as well when you didn't know something. And that's such a great compassion and empathies that you bring to the table for your clients. And I love that about you. So and is that something that like get you all fire up and getting up in the morning? Would you say so?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
My alarm goes off at 5:13 every morning. And the reason why it's 5:13 is because my birthday is on May 13th. So I'm a very like sentimental, significant kind of guy. So I wake up at 5:13. Me and my brother go to the gym together. And so again, I built that into my routine just because one, I love waking up early, and two, just having clients in the East Coast as well. It's later for them. So to answer your question, I'm up at 5:13 in the morning.
Yeah, that's great. That's so awesome. I mean, I implement that for myself as well. And and I find that my morning is so rewarding, when the days that I get to do everything that I needed to get done in that morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fulfilling. So yeah, I truly feel you on that one. But it's sometime when I overwork like late sending stuff out at night and then you see some of my email coming to you at night. And then the next morning I'm paying for it.
Yeah, I hear you. There's a little bit of a side tangent, but as listeners are looking to just get to know us more and all of that, I recently got a Whoop band, but this measures your sleep score, your recovery, your strain, and all of that. So I hear you when I have those later nights that I'm working on emails or whatever the case is. I do feel it in the morning for sure.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it.
So, it looks like you work with all people from all walks of life.
Hmm.
So, what most, common about money, when it comes to their fear or misconception that you hear the most from your client? And
Yeah.
how do you help them shift their mindset?
Yeah. I would say the number one concern for people is the fear of not knowing whether or not their money is going to last them through their lifetime. Without a financial plan, you're kind of just shooting in the dark, like hoping that you'll save enough, hoping that you'll have enough to retire. And then even with that, we have no idea how long someone is going to live, right? So we like to say, we'll plan to get you to age 100, and after that, you're on your own. But my both of my grandmas are in their 90s, and they've lived very full lives. So I think by 100, I'd be ready to go. But I would say that it's the fear of not knowing if they're going to have enough. And so, it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s or if you're in your 60s and 70s. I think that is a fundamental question for people: is, am I going to have enough? And for me, what I've really found as the answer is having that comprehensive financial plan. We can plan for the what ifs, we can plan for the changes. And when I share with clients, what their situation looks like projected all the way out to 100, there's a real power in being able to see the numbers and peace of mind that comes with it too. It's like, I mean, on opposite sides of the spectrum, it could be like, oh, wow, I really need to focus on saving because I can see the impact that it'll have out into the future. And then on the other side, it can be like, oh, I'm going to be okay. I can actually enjoy my life and do the things that I want to do. There are some cases where, people are over saving, right? But again, if you don't know how that impacts you out into the future, again, you're kind of just hoping and waiting, really, versus being proactive and actually seeing what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, I wanted to add on, a lot of people come from a place of fear
Hmm.
and then because they don't know, right?
Yeah.
And then another word acronym for fear is, false evidence appear real.
Yep.
It really is not there at all, but
Hmm.
we carry that on from, I'm not sure for how long all the humanity have that.
Hmm.
We all have it. We all experience it. And until we learn something new and those things start to disappear. And the audience, get this information. So some of the fear that they might have already from might be start to disappear,
Hmm.
right? When they're listening to what we are sharing with them.
Yeah.
And then that they can also know that we are here to help them if they need and
Hmm.
if they request for it. We're here. We are be available to answer any questions they have. So that's a good thing that all the advisor and all and that's what you do. You are here
Hmm.
to do that for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for sharing this. It's
Yeah,
very
can I ride your
Mhm.
coattails on one thing that you said?
Yeah.
It really is a distinct relationship that we do have with the people we work with. I mean, I know there's that like advisor client relationship, but even client for me is like the people that I work with, they occur as like friends and family. And, like, yes, they are a client from a business perspective, but they're people that I get to be a part of their lives and vice versa. Right. And I think, I've worked with a lot of different financial companies where, clients really are just a number, right? It's like, okay, how much do you have to invest? Let's move the money here. Maybe we'll talk on a quarterly basis and at least once a year. But it's very different from what we do. We spend the time, take our time, to really make sure that, the people that we work with, really get that they're not a number, and that we're with them every step of the way.
Yeah, yeah. And I see that for myself. I see
Mm-hmm.
that you guys work really hard and how you serving, servicing your clients is so impactful.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that are blessed to meet you, they just, brag a lot about you as well. So I'm just grateful that you part of the team, the CSP
Mm-hmm.
team, and very very blessed to sit right in front of you and have you answer some of these questions so the audience, whoever listening to, can get the same as well as I feeling about you,
Mm-hmm.
and getting to know you for who you are in the world for them. So thank you for that. And have you ever had clients come to you and said that, believing they were too late or to start saving, or, they're too old, how can they start, or how did you, help them reframe that belief?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think first of all, if someone comes to me and says, it's too late or I'm too old, the first thing that I say is that it's great to realize that,
Mm,
because they could possibly not realize that and just continue living their life thinking that everything's okay. So the fact that they see that there's something that they need to address is the first step in being is a great first step.
mhm,
And this, what we say is it's never too late, right? There's no time to waste, and there's always things that we can do to optimize someone's situation. So I have had situations where people have come and said they think they're behind or whatever the case is. But again, even for me, when someone says they're behind, I don't
mhm,
really know what that means unless I can create a financial plan and look at the actual numbers. So I think, at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And what we do, we are giving people the knowledge to be able to actually make the appropriate actions. So, I know that Charles has a saying, all we can do is all we can do, and all we can do is enough. And what
mhm,
I'm committed to is, regardless of where someone is, being able to make that situation and circumstance as best as it possibly can be. Um,
mhm.
the other thing Charles says is good, better, best. Never let it rest till good gets better and better gets best. So again, we're always on that trajectory. There's always something that you can do to optimize your finances and your relationship to money. So, if you're listening and thinking that time is the reason why you can't get started, that's a mistake. And I really would invite you to reach out to us and, have a conversation about your situation.
Yeah, that's a good one. So, a lot of people, they feel shame or guilt about, like, they only have little money to save and things like that, or they start to comparing themselves to other people.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help them from that
Yeah.
perspective?
Yeah, one of the things that I love about CSP is that we don't have minimums. And what I mean by that is you do not need to have $1 million portfolio to work with us. Who we really attract and who we love working with are people who are committed to taking themselves from point A to point Z and are willing to put in the work and get educated and take the actions and are coachable and all of that. I have clients that are still in college or recent college grads that are contributing $50 to a Roth IRA. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're committed to putting in the work and working with us, that's the ideal person we like to work with, right? Or family. Can you say again the second part of the question, so Paul?
Yeah, how do you help them to shift that belief from, feeling shame and guilt about, like, for example, when I first started, gosh, many years ago, over 30 years ago, right? I felt, and fortunately, I didn't know enough to really compare myself to other people.
Mm,
But nowadays, you're like seeing everything, people flashing this and that out there, and you can't help it, but in human nature, you tend to compare yourself to other.
Mhm.
And I want you to speak to those people who struggle like that, who feel like shame and guilt, like I don't have money, and how can I get immediate needs to start saving for my future, and you know, can you give me some example? Do you have any of those clients that come
Yeah.
to you?
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes back to our process and how we work with people. We have a conversation called the discovery meeting. And in this meeting, it is all about you, where we understand what's truly important to you, what keeps you up at night, what legacy you want to live or leave. And I think for most people, it's a conversation that they don't get the opportunity to have, especially with someone who's looking at it from the financial lens. So, when it comes to the comparison or keeping up with the Joneses, for me, I let our process work itself, because through that process people really do discover that there's actually something more important than money itself, right? And
Mm.
what that money provides, whether it's experiences with family or having a great meal with a loved one, or whatever the case is. Like throughout our process and then working with us, people actually discover why money is important to them, what their true purpose for money is. um, that's more important than money itself. So it's not to say that material things aren't nice, or a nice car or home or whatever the case is, but I think where we really do add value is having that actual conversation with people and letting them know that it's not the money itself, right? Like I actually did this as an experiment when I was living in LA. We have a little small Maltese. His name's Charlie, and I held $100 bill up in front of Charlie's face, and I was like, Charlie, this is $100 bill. And he came up to smell it, and then he just like turned around and did whatever it is else he was doing, right? So for us, money means something. To a dog, money doesn't mean anything. So
Right.
the opportunity is for us to be able to have that creative conversation with clients
Mm.
around what money means to them, and how they can use it to express themselves in life, and what's going to add joy to their life. So um, I don't know if that answers your question, so Paul, but again,
No,
I think.
that is perfect, leading to a place where I wanted to add, that's how you help people to, see their purpose.
Mhm,
I think that conversation to get them not getting to somewhere in their money goal, but to also to see their purpose,
mhm,
to see their purpose in life. And then sometimes, something happen in life, you get stuck at certain place, but then you
mhm,
gain great experience from that,
mhm.
right? So I would say that, every messed up thing, there's a message you can learn from,
Absolutely. Yeah,
right? You can
absolutely.
learn and take that with you. And I think, I can share a lot of that experience with the audience, but that's not for me today. But I just wanted to say that when you go through um, messed up, broken times. We all went, been there, done that. We we all a mess.
Mhm.
But how we got up, and then how we, form a community and meeting great people, and like if you get to hear this message, and you're not reaching out and taking actions, that says that's going to determine your future, what it looks like too. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
So if this message reach you, and then you're like, oh, I wanted to call, and then, oh, I'm too busy. You get all kind of reasons that will stop you. Then that's also determine your future result
Mhm.
as well. So I heard this from one of the coaches that I listened to. She said, poor stand for um, pass opportunity over repeatedly, pass
Mm,
over opportunity repeatedly. So
yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that, wow, that's a very, very great insight to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be poor, right? But I would say to people all the time, don't ever say the word poor. Say that I'm, temporary broke
Yeah.
and I will get
Yeah.
there. So, I would overcome this.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't impact the way your brain, interpret it,
Hmm.
right? And then store it inside there and then use it later on.
Hmm.
So always like work with the way you're thinking as well. And that's what I wanted to add. So, that was a great sharing. I thought that you share a really good insight in that around that area, yes,
Hmm.
about money and leading into the purpose.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's better that they should focus on finding their purpose and acknowledge, hey, it doesn't work for me before, but now let me take this route to see, now, working on my purpose work for me better than trying to get to somewhere on reaching out to make more money. And then you end up not being so happy about it, and your life all a mess, right?
Hmm.
If
Yeah.
you work for your purpose, then the money will come in that way, and then you have a great financial advisor like yourself, those to help them keep discipline because you're coaching them through all the way through their
Hmm.
journey, right?
Yeah.
So I know that the thing that we have shared with people is such great conversation so far. And what I also wanted to acknowledge too, that our coaches, and especially you, Nick, you have trained to be so communicatable with people, period, either they're your clients or not. You just know how to talk to them, or, and then you're listening to them is so important
Hmm.
because you're so connectable. And that's why I love for the audience to listen to you
Hmm.
from that space, because you're such a great listener. Whatever space they're coming from, you have such a gift to give to people, and not many people out there are like that. You're a rare breed. So yeah,
Thank you
and
so
that's,
much.
you're welcome. So what is one piece of your financial advice that you wish you had to follow earlier in your career, if you could share that with your clients?
That's a great question. One piece of financial advice that I wish I had done when I was younger,
Mhm.
or like for me personally, or you're talking
Yeah,
about
for
passing advice?
you, for yourself, because you gotta eat your own food. You,
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah, yeah.
I see a lot of advisor out there who going out there advising people, but I know one thing about us is that we make, we cook, we eat our own food,
Hmm.
and we don't go sell stuff to people or advise other people to do things that we don't do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, yeah, this is a very relevant question because one of the things that I'm doing right now is a tax planning certified professional designation. And it's the first time that they're ever offering this. And, I don't know about you, so Paul, but when I hear the word taxes for myself personally, I'm like, I just get, like wonky about it, right? Because I don't really understand taxes and it's complicated depending on the state and income limits and all that stuff. And I remember that when this course showed up as an opportunity, I was scared. I was like, ooh, I feel like I would get so much value from doing this, but I
Mhm.
know that it's going to be hard, right? Because there's so many difficult topics in finance. And one of the things that I always tell my clients and the people that I work with is I don't expect you to understand absolutely everything, right? Just like you wouldn't expect me to understand everything you do about your job.
Mhm.
But that's my role as the advisor. It's that ongoing education, not only for myself, but for the people that I work with. So I think, you know, going back to the story of when I was 6 and my dad telling me that he'd teach me how to invest, that conversation never happened up until I got to college around 18, 19. So there was a 12-year period where I wasn't reading books or watching, YouTube videos or whatever the case is, trying to expand my knowledge. And I'm doing it now and have been for, quite some time. But I would say that the piece of advice that I wish I had implemented when I was younger that I tell people today is to educate yourself. Like whether it's paying money to work with an advisor or attending conferences. I mean, a lot of the things, as you know, that we offer are free, right? It costs people their time, but it's spending that time to invest in yourself. Is what I would say that I wish I had done when I was younger. Um,
Mm.
because again, I mean, the central theme of what we're talking about, like knowledge is power,
Yeah.
and being able to know certain things, really does give you an edge to make sure that you can
Yeah,
live the life you love.
exactly. And I would add to that is, knowledge is power. And if you don't take actions on that, it's basically, useless.
Yeah, then it's a poor, right? Past
That's
opportunity overly repeated. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
exactly.
That's really great. So you have seen people going from struggling to saving, confidently. So
Hmm.
what is the most inspiring success story you have, witnessed firsthand?
Ooh, that's a great question. I have I have a couple that I'm working with who are in their 30s, and they're super inspiring ladies. And when they first came to me, they had no real understanding of how investing worked. And so by being able to share with them the American Dream Experience, which is a 2-day investing workshop about investing in purpose and your behavior around money, taking them through our process at CSP, they've been able to, fully fund Roth IRAs, fully fund, um, you know, life insurance, retirement plans, and create that buffer asset for themselves. I know I'm speaking in technicalities, but there's a lot of things that they've been able to do, optimizing their 401k, optimizing their cash flow. Uh, one of the women is a business owner, so taking that business off the ground. Like there were so many different things we were able to do. And again, projecting it out until age 100, I mean, there was a difference between like $8 million of what they were currently doing and what they now will have, right? Or could, or is going towards. So that's one thing is, that difference that you can see around how much money how much money and the growth of an investment or investment plan. But more than anything, I would say what I'm really happy about is that they understand how the inner workings of their finance and their cash flow and their investing actually works.
Mm.
One of the women is a creative. So, she's a coach. She works with other creatives who are, growing their business, but not as business savvy.
Mhm.
And she's able to talk in terms that like she wouldn't have been able to a year ago, right?
Mhm.
Talking about solo 401ks and contributions to the Roth. And the for me, the growth of the types of conversations we're now having is really fulfilling for me, because I know that the education and the things we're doing is actually getting in. um,
Mhm.
and I would say to wrap that part up, it really is that consistent communication that I'm having with this couple. They
Mm.
always show up. They're super coachable. They ask a lot of questions, which I absolutely love. um, because it shows that they're engaged, they're interested, and they want to actually understand what they're doing and how it's going to impact their life. So being able to actually see it unfold has been
Mhm.
super rewarding for me.
Okay, good, good. I mean, you run into answering some of the questions that I was gonna ask you next, but um, I wanted to add on the top of that because you educating your clients, so now they learn it for themselves.
Hmm.
Even if you're not here, they now know how to identify the area those areas that they have missed before, and now they have
Mhm.
it, and it's just something that you're not gonna forget. And then you're gonna identify, I think now your clients know how to identify what is a good advisor and what is a bad advisor, even if you're not here, right? So that's a
Yeah.
kind of gift that you giving to your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I can add one thing, so Paul, I think the most rewarding thing for me, and I know the other coaches and advisors at CSP, is when we get introductions to people in our clients' lives, right? With this couple, I'm now working with the dad. I'm now working with the mother. I'm working with extended family, and I've been introduced to their friends, and I think it speaks to when we do a good job for people and when we care about people. It's very automatic and natural to want to share it with other people. And that does two things. When talking about, your comment around if something happened to me, they would know what to do. First of all, I feel blessed that, if something ever happened to me, they could just turn to CSP, and then there would be another coach that would, understand our process, understand what we're up to, and just, pick back up where I left. The other thing too is by having the people in their lives also working with us, that creates that structure and environment of accountability too, because
Mhm.
it's not just me and the clients, it's their family too, like that, we're everybody's involved in the conversation, which is also super fulfilling to see.
Yeah, and I noticed that financial literacy is not taught in school. And and for yourself, how do you stay like, financially educated, like, and getting yourself ahead of the curve?
Yeah.
In
Well,
this,
go ahead.
yeah, especially in this industry.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned the tax planning course that I'm taking.
Mhm.
That was something where I knew that I mean, tax planning is something that clients are always looking for, right? Just looking at the surveys and all of that. So knowing that I've committed to that year-long program is one way that I'm demonstrating, that constant learning. But there's also a lot of different financial conferences that I attend on a yearly basis. I try to go to at least four, because you get to hear about the new technologies, you get to hear about the trends, you get to hear about all of the news that's happening, and where we're headed and all of that. So for me, I invest a lot. I've invested a lot of money into developing myself, but then also being able to go to these conferences and be around like-minded um, advisors and people that I look up to. I'm working on 3 books at a time around financial literacy and all of that. And so
Wow.
I think just, as well, being part of the CSP team, we're always on the lookout for what's new and how that impacts our clients, and, how to take advantage or make adjustments to, the new rules coming out. There's always new rules coming out. So
Yeah,
it's our
yeah.
job to stay on top of it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I see that firsthand too. Charles, oh my goodness. Like he constantly like one books to the next to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the guys could give him, like get PhD in reading all these financial
Yeah.
literacy books and then all the podcasts that he's listening to. So it's
It's a
being
lot.
around him, I pick up a lot of things as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
Yeah, so thank
Absolutely.
you for sharing that. And just as we got to know you and how you deal with things, but how do you help your client deal with like setback and emergency fund? Like not every financial plan goes smoothly, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can you share a time when you face like a financial setback, either personally or clients that you help? How do you navigate them through that or navigate yourself through that?
Yeah. I mean, if there's anything that's constant in life, is that things always happened. Right. And so, one is having that conversation with my clients. Actually, earlier this week, I had a conversation with a client, and his wife and daughter got into a car accident. Now
Mhm.
they're okay, but that was something that they could not have predicted. And so when he shared that with me, that impacts the insurance prices, that impacts cash flow and needing to go to a chiropractor and go to the doctors. It impacts time away from their business, right? Like one thing can have so many different impacts. So I'm actually having a conversation with him today. And what we're going to do is what I would do with any other person that I'm working with, which is, okay, let's take a look at what happened. What is the impact of that into, our retirement plan and just where you're at currently. And if we need funds, where do we pull that from? And again, just creating a strategy around all of these things. When you talk about the emergency fund, we recommend, anywhere between 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And for those people who are looking to build their emergency fund, it's one thing to, make a automatic deposit into this emergency fund. That's a great start. Where I like to go is a step before that, which is, how are you currently spending your money? Like, let's analyze that, right? Because unless one of the most powerful, people hate the word or hate the term budget, right? Or expense planning. But when we look at the actual cash flows and how people are spending their money, for many people, it's the first time they're actually seeing where their dollars are going. And what I like to say is that money is like energy, right? It's going to go and it's going to flow. And if you don't have an intention to save it, it's going to be spent, right? If there's no job for that dollar, it's going to be spent. So, having analysis is a strong word, but like just actually paying attention to where your money is going, just in that simple process, I've helped people find hundreds of dollars on a monthly basis that they could be siphoning into an emergency fund. So, again, we have very trained eyes because this is what we do day in and day out. And for a normal person who's focused on, their career and focused on, building a family, like finances sometimes, doesn't get all of the attention it really needs and deserves, but that's where we come in. So to answer your question, it's, taking a look at how money is currently flowing and looking for opportunities there. Because again, we really do things that are in a very uncommon way, right? We're not always looking to swing for the fences, whether that's on investment return or whatever the case is. We really do believe that there's more money to be made and saved by plugging the holes. So, we're hole pluggers and looking where money is leaking from the bucket, So,
right. Yeah. We're comprehensive planning. So we look at all aspects, areas of our lives in order to create, the right kind of plans for the individuals. Not every individual are the same, and how they behave are completely different from others. So one person can be successful at doing one plans and the other person successful at doing other plans. So it depends, what their behaviors around their money and their habits, their routine around all of that. So that contribute to their success in terms of building their nest egg assets,
Yeah.
So
if I can share one thing, so Paul, this is just like a real clear example of how some people just kind of turn a blind eye or put their head in the sand around where their money's going. When I was actually looking at a statement for a client, one of the things that I saw that she just was not aware of was that she was paying a subscription for $200 a month for wine to be shipped to her house.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, tell me about this wine subscription." She goes, "Oh my gosh, I totally forgot that I had that because I haven't even been receiving the bottles of wine." So she had been paying something on a $200 per month basis that she wasn't even receiving the goods for. But then again, dollars. So there's always money to be found. And it's fun to do that.
That's good. Yeah. So let's look at their long-term perspective. Your vision for them for the future in wealth building. So if you could give your younger self one piece of financial advice, what would it be?
Yeah, I love that question. The piece of advice that I would give is for 2 years, what most people won't do, so you can do for the rest of your life what most people can't do.
Mm.
And for me, it was, I heard that message for the very first time from one of my early mentors when I was in college. And to me, what that means is if you spend the time now to really focus on the things that matter, to really focus on the things that are important, to really focus on the things that are going to have the biggest impact out into the future, if you do that now, your life is going to be much, much easier, way more enjoyable in the future. Right?
Mhm.
If you wait, you're going to be always dealing with that thing. So, for me, again, if you do for 2 years what most people won't do, like
Mhm.
financial planning or talking to an advisor or investing right and educating yourself, if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to live your life the way you want to. Um, because again, we talk about opportunity costs, we talk about how important time is in the equation for wealth. Um, that's the piece of advice that I would give. And I can apply this to any area of my life, whether it's relationships or family or fitness or, me, like my actual career. Um, do for 2 years what most people won't do, so you can do for the rest of your life what most people can't do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great piece of advice you can give. Yeah. And another thing I want to add on to that is, a lot of people like to uh, achieve things very quickly. They have
Mm,
like a microwave mentality. Everything is so easy to get, easy. So
mm-hmm,
I would come from a place of, if you're willing to work through the tough, hard, push through that difficult times that other people don't do, you're willing to do that.
mm-hmm,
That's the rest of your life will be a lot easier to
mm-hmm.
deal with
Yeah.
because
And
yeah, those hard things become like a habit and routine. It not necessarily is easier. It's just because you get so used to doing it, it
yep.
become better. You see, so willing to do things that are difficult now, so
Mm-hmm.
you can get better in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the number one reason why people don't pay attention to their finances or invest sooner is because one, they think they have time, and two, it's just something that is so easy to put off till later, right? Oh, I'll do it
Yes.
next year, or I'll wait for a New Year's resolution, or once I get that bonus, then I'll start saving, or there's always going to be something, but
Yeah.
declaring it, making it a priority is, and then again, having like working with a coach. I think that's the other thing that I would say is, when I was younger, even in like, high school, college, like early adulthood, what I would say is that I used to have this conversation about how working with an advisor, working with a coach, was a sign of weakness. Like I couldn't do it myself, and I needed someone else to help me. And that was just a bunch of baloney, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if I look at all of the peak athletes, the Olympic athletes, the people that are really, really putting in the work and experience success and all of that, they all are working with coaches, right? They all have people that they rely on, and listen to and support them. So, I think I think I would have asked for help a lot sooner if I could, tell my younger self some nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah, yeah, that is so great. But what I have seen the younger generations now, I'm a Gen X, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what I see the younger generation that's either millennial or the Gen Z, they are more open now to
Mm-hmm.
ask for help or
Mm-hmm.
ask for, looking for answer. But the problem here is where is the right kind of answer? Because
Right.
there's so many information out there, right? You just put
Mm-hmm.
like financial on the Google search is like millions of that thing coming out. So how
Yeah.
can you find the right kind of information to help yourself to be successful? And I hope the audience who listening to our podcast willing to reach out,
Yeah.
even the fear or of unknown, right?
Yeah.
Is somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, that's such a great. I mean, two things really come to mind. The first is if you are considering working with an advisor, with a coach, the number one question you want to ask them is if they are a fiduciary. And if you're not familiar with that term, essentially what it means is that a fiduciary is someone who is legally required to do what's in the best interest for you. Right? There is a higher ethical component to
Mm-hmm.
what it is that they do. And that is very different from someone or an advisor who might just fall under the suitability standard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Something, there may be 10 different things that are suitable for you, so Paul,
Mm-hmm.
but only one of them is what's really best for you. And so if you're an investor, if you're looking to, start investing, wherever it is that you're at, you do want to make sure that you are working with a fiduciary. And I'm very proud to be a fiduciary. Everybody at CSP is a fiduciary. Because, if you're going to be investing your time, if you're going to be working with someone, you want to know that they're on your side and they're on
Mm-hmm.
your team and in your corner. So
Yeah.
that's the number one thing that I would say is making sure that you're working with a fiduciary. And
Yeah.
then,
And
yeah.
I wanted to add that before you move on, you're not just a fiduciary, but you also have a well-round of comprehensive plannings.
Hmm.
So,
Yep.
you have every corner for them,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that a lot of people who have blind sight around those area of planning,
Hmm.
even though they work with a fiduciary advisor, but they only have one planner, right? One products. And that's
Hmm.
not going to help build your, like, for example, compare that to architects of building a home.
Hmm.
You need to know all areas, at least know how to be a director of all those areas to find the best for your client to build a good home,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you do as a fiduciary and comprehensive
Yep.
planner.
Yeah. And you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I'm no surprise just because we're all
Mhm.
part of the same environment, right? But yeah, you really want to make sure that you're working with a fiduciary. And then second, like you said, you do want to work with someone who is looking at your situation comprehensively, holistically, right?
Yep.
Um, how does your income impact your taxes, which impacts your investments, which impacts your estate planning, which impacts the legacy that you're looking to live. Like, one thing has so many different impacts, and if you're just kind of like a racehorse with blinders on and focused on one thing, um, you could potentially be causing a mess in another area. So you really do want to work with someone who is looking at the whole picture. And the other thing too, the last thing that I'll share is like, I'm the oldest of three. So I've got a younger sister, a younger brother. And ever since I was little, my parents always said, set the good example for Jen and Matt. And so I think it translates really well to being an advisor and a coach. Like, it's just part of my nature to always look out for people and make sure that they're okay and all of that. And I owe so much to my parents. And, they're getting to an age now where they're now relying on me and the kids. Right. There's that like flip flop of being a parent and taking care of the kids, but then the kids taking care of you. And, I always say, I want to be around people that I would trust working with my parents. And, my parents work with CSP and all of that. And, there is that connection and alignment in values and the caring that is present. So make sure you're working with a fiduciary, make sure that they're a comprehensive planner and looking at all the different pieces. And then third, most importantly, is like get really clear that there is a good fit between you and the advisor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to add when you say good fit,
Mm-hmm.
good fits that it's easy and you feel relaxed to talk to that person and willing to share authentically, like all the ups and downs of lives. And I think that's a great coach to have those kind of relationship to be able to share those kind of things that you go through in life, and so that the coaches can help you to navigate, you know, because everything that impact your life, it's also impact your money, and it
Hmm.
can help you navigate through that as well. And then and also help, I believe that you do help them, manage their behavior around their money.
Hmm. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, so I think that's very important when it comes to relationship
Yeah.
with the coach, finding the kind of relationship that good fit,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, someone who takes the time to explain things to you and educate you and train you, and not someone who's communicative with you and genuinely cares about you. That's
Mhm.
important.
So, when the client come to you and they're overwhelmed about their retirements, what are the first thing that you do to help them build that confidence back?
Yeah. Well, personally, the first thing that I do is just get what they're saying and put myself in their shoes around what it is that's concerning them, whether it's political, economic, something in their life, whatever the case is, just getting in the world of what it is that they're sharing. Because I think at the end of the day, people just want to be heard, right? I want to be heard. You, Sophal, want to be heard, and just gotten and acknowledged. And um, it's just the fundamental human need. And so that's the first thing that I do is making sure that I got what they said, because it's going to happen, right? We're emotional creatures.
Mhm.
And after that, really being able to, what's been really powerful for me is being able to tie whatever it is that they're dealing with, their concern, with the science and academics and logic about things. Because, like we talked about, there is the science and then there is the behavior. I mean, behavior is science too, but you really do need both sides. Um, and so the coaching really does look like asking them powerful questions and asking them clarifying questions. Because it's one thing for me to tell someone like, "Oh, you just stop that." Right. You don't have to worry about that. But if I ask someone questions where they can discover for themselves, oh, maybe I
Mhm.
wasn't looking at it the whole picture, or I didn't consider this part of that equation, then it's something that they can own and they're able to, with my guidance, like work through that problem or issue or fear themselves. But I think that's, again, it goes back to the training and development and education that we do with our clients, and making sure that they understand how the market works, or how investing works, and the correlation between different things. And so, you know, at the end of the day, my role is to have people be heard, uh, and then always tie back whatever it is that they're dealing with to what's really important to them and why they're doing all of this in the first place. Right. And when, again, people get connected to what's really important, I think the fear tends to disappear or at least lessen its grip. Right. Because the fear really is coming from there is a threat to that future or to that thing that I most care about. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah,
And
on
you
some,
get them, yeah, and then you get them connect back to their why and their
mm-hmm,
purpose.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So for our listener who are feeling stuck and do not know where to start, what are one simple action they can take, today to move forward in their financial planning?
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a plug for CSP itself, but if you go to our website, which I'm sure will be linked in the bio and description, take a look for yourself. Spend 5 minutes looking at who it is that we are, what we do, how we do it, and if it interests you and intrigues you, schedule a call with us or give us a call. Schedule a call or give us a call or send us an email, but at least take that one action that could potentially alter the trajectory of your life. As we talked about our process and having a good fit, um, and making sure that that's important. That's really what we do offer, and it's complimentary for people. Again, we are here to serve you. So if you're willing to take that action of visiting our website and reaching out to us, we'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you. Whether it's me or Sophal or whoever the case is, anybody on our team, we really do all work together, and we really do all work together for you. So we would love to be a part of your journey.
Oh yeah, that is so great, Nick. So yeah, Nick, thank you so much for joining us today, joining me today, and sharing your these valuable insight to all the people who listening. So I hugely appreciate you
Mm.
taking the time to be here. So thank you for being here and share that with the listener. And I know that this information will impact their life not just for today, but it's for their future, for the rest of the future.
Mm-hmm.
To all our listeners, so thank you for tuning in today. We are committed to bringing you more authentic information, mindful conversation about finances and everything about money. Be sure to check back in next month. We have exciting, conversation with each other advisor who also have different view about finance as well. And the conversation is gonna be all about money and all about how it impact your life and it can bring some insight to your life as well for listening. So until next time, thank you. Take care, everyone, for joining us.